Good morning to the DMV and the rest of the world. This is your girl Reese, aka the best that ever did it. And I am back for another installment of the Morning Mac Show. Today I'm not alone. I also have my co-pilot with me today. As always, he's the man behind the scene. Molly Mall is here in the studio with us. And we also have our esteemed guest, Dr. Dr. Thomas, Dr. Katina Thomas. I like calling her doctor,
Good
uh,
morning.
or professor, but it's
That's my favorite. I like Professor.
Professor Katina Thomas is co-piloting with me again today. And today discussion will be on the Omi. We are the Omi. So we're talking about, yes, the woman king, people. We're talking about the movie, and we're going to discuss why do you think they're boycotting this movie. This movie is receiving a lot of pushback. Um, this movie, first of all, a bit about the history. Well, we all know that the homie um, was a tribe, and now it's called the Republican of Benin, the land that the homie tribe uh, was occupying. The homie had let me see, a military army of all women called the Uzu, and this was from the reign of King Gaza. Okay, so it's like Nigeria. That part, it was split up. The country was split up between these three kings, and the part that King Gaza owned, or I'm sorry, not owned, but ruled. He started the OMI, the Amazon, the Black Amazon. Well, anyway, basically, let me cut through the rhetoric. Long story short, I don't want to chatter on, but the homie is responsible for 1/3 of the slaves making it over here to slavery in America. Back then, it was very common. It was a common practice that they were capture neighboring villages and enslave the people there. And but it wasn't didn't have nothing to do with colorism. It didn't have nothing to do with this color said that they're better than that color. They was doing that to all the people. All the armies and stuff was doing that. If they captured the other village, they enslaved the people. Uh, King Jesu army wasn't as big as everybody thought it was. So what he did, he packed his army with females to give the appearance of a nation of them, right? So he had a thought, I'm just getting these ladies to stand in as props to act like soldiers so the opposing enemy could see us standing grand and flee. And it worked. But he thought, why don't I train these women? So that's where the Amazonian training and all that stuff came in at. And the most of these women were the ones that they looked upon as unmeritable, undesirable, the strong minded or will women that won't listen to their husband or their parents. It was easy for them to say, look, I got an unruly daughter. I'm going to give her as a gift to my king, and she will be trained to be part of this sisterhood that they call the Uzu, the woman. And these women were not, according to the movie, they were not permitted to marry. Most of them was virgins, and the only one that could touch them was the king. Like that. It was like 100 of them. That's the premises around the movie, and a lot of people are giving this movie pushback. But I got some clips, and the one that I struggle with the most when I see Lapita, the younger, I think I'm saying her name right. She was supposed to play a role in this movie, but she turned it down because she said that it was just too heartbreaking for her. Um, the pushback is that they're saying, quote unquote, that we are glorifying the woman, the Uzu, excuse me, but we're not. the movie to me doesn't glorify them. Just it gives a insight of what type of woman that they were and the stuff that they had to go through, this vigorous training, military training. They had to take martial arts. They had to climb through sticker briar bushes and the stuff that they had to endure to prove themselves just as strong a warrior, if not even better than the man. The men wasn't going through that kind of training that the woman was going through. They showed that the woman trained vigorously. Anyway, whether that part is true or not, that might be like the Hollywood fluff. But they're saying that they glorified that these people were savages, that they was brute. Well, these people did what their king told them to do. Instead of them ragging or down rating these women, they should talk more about the king and his mindset and why did he have such things happening. They believed in human sacrifices. They did like the Mayans and the Aztec Indians and all that stuff. They believed in human sacrifices. So it was part of their ritual, part of their culture to do that. But again, that's the king. That's no different than our bad government deploying military soldiers to do this, to do that. We don't get mad at the soldiers. We get mad at the government because that's who's sending orders to the soldiers. The soldiers is doing what their king or their ruler is telling them to do. But we got some clips. Katina, do you have any thoughts about the um I know you mentioned that you didn't get a chance to actually see the movie yet, but do you have any thoughts or anything that you would like to share about the culture of the homie, people, which is now the Republican of Benin?
No, not really. I just would like to. I would say that I think that people should, be careful to not believe that a movie is supposed to provide you with historical accuracy. I don't know a lot about some of the claims that is being made as you have stated them in terms of savagery, in terms of human sacrifices. What we have learned, I actually was one of my minors. I had to major in a couple of things and minor in a couple of things, and I minored in African history. And by doing so, I learned a lot from African scholars. And I learned that oftentimes the history that we receive from the Western world is pretty much conjured information from the minds of various explorers and adventurers who have come into Africa over the course of many, many centuries. And they write what they think they see. They never actually know what they're talking about. They write what some African scholars call safari history. That means that all we look like is some jungle bunnies for the most part, and they don't understand the intricate dynamics of the cultural relationships that they see when they get to Africa. And oftentimes, what they do is superimpose their own ideas, their own language on these people. Like, for instance, the word king. The word king was not a word that was known in the languages in that on that continent. That's another thing people got to remember, that Africa is a continent, and Dahomey is a little teeny old piece of stretch of land on the entire continent of
Right.
Africa that could fit the whole state of United States within its confines, right? And so what our scholars, African scholars have told us is that these often mostly white scholars and explorers come to Africa, and they use terms like king as a representation of the person who's in charge. But in many states, women were rulers too. And that is why they didn't have a word for king or queen, because leadership was not identified by one's gender. in many societies in Africa. So they used to use a term in the Yoruba people, use the term called Oba. Oba means ruler. And so up until white people started to come in and try to rewrite history or rewrite African history, people would use the term Oba. But once we ended up being colonized for the most part, that's a word most
Hmm.
people know.
Colonizers,
White
huh?
people began to reinterpret the social relationships that they observed in Africa. They began to almost try to create an image of Africa that is totally consistent with the European world, you know. And so I think we get a lot of confusion about what we understand about Africa because we're usually digesting information that comes from the colonizers, to keep it simple.
Hmm. I know Slicky Woo Boo is not calling me during the show. Oh, and he is. I'm sorry, Katina.
Oh,
I'm
Yeah, let me
gonna
call
kill him.
Slicky. Nah, I call him. Gotta get on him.
He must say he can't see. Are we on Facebook? Can they see us?
I'm sending him the invite now. Everybody. So I get him in here. Y'all just go ahead. It's a great show. Or you want me to share the video now?
Okay. No, no. I want Katina to finish her thought, and
that's
then
I'm
She
finished with that thought.
we can share one of the videos.
Let's go to the video.
We can't hear it. Can you hear it, Katina?
It's faint.
Let me see if I can cut it up.
We started over so we can. It's
Nigga,
real.
that's the loudest. Whoever clip this is you gave. This the loudest they clip is.
Okay. Let's see if we can hear it again.
I go to it. One of the other ones. That's louder.
Okay.
Okay, let me tell you why this beautiful woman, a beautiful soul, to match her beautiful face, Lupita, passed on the movie role, the lead role of the Warrior King. In 2018, when TriStar announced the Woman King, Lupita Nyong'o has been cast as Nawi. Fresh off the success of Black Panther, the Kenyan Mexican star was apparently so excited about her new role that she visited Benin to make a short documentary on the Ogoji, possibly intended to build the hype for the Woman King. Okay? But after a sobering encounter with Gezel's gold-mounted throne, she accepts that any notion of Ogoji being a beacon of enlightened feminism like the Dora Milaje in Wakanda is long gone, because she talked to the granddaughter of a woman enslaved by them in Nigeria, and she said that their history is not good at all, and Lupita was crying. Okay, now let's get into historical facts. Coming from a Pan-African website, the Kingdom of Dahomey, seat of the slave trade. The Kingdom of Dahomey was a powerful kingdom in West Africa, where we get the word Akata from. Anyway, let's go all the way down to the end. In the 18th century, the kingdom broke away from the Kingdom of Oyo and strengthened its power by developing the transatlantic slave trade. It goes on to talk about how King Tegabusu, who governed the kingdom in the 1750s, sold over 9,000 slaves. This dude was balling off of the transatlantic slave trade more than the Europeans were. Bruh. And not only that, he had a business partner, a Brazilian by the name of Francisco Feliz de Sousa, Lord. So this wasn't just about them trading, slaves because they were captives. They were trading their own people and torturing and murdering and their own people. And y'all want to sit up here in my comments and defend the Dahomey, defend the Benin people, the Nigerians, for this history, and you're gonna go and watch and support a movie that these people had a part in making? Why do you think this movie was backed by so much money? Why? Come on, y'all. Come on, wake up, please. I love y'all. Damn.
Wow. Um, I share some of his views, and some of his views I don't share. Katina, what say you?
I have no comment because I can't, I just think that as a scholar, I consider myself a scholar. And so as a scholar, I don't watch TikTok commentary. I scrutinize everything I look at on YouTube. I check the references of everything I read because one thing that we do know is that the numbers always seem high when people want to talk about Africans selling other Africans, and then the numbers get low when you talk about how many the white people bought. Okay. They don't want, and so we don't, in the scholarly world, we check, double check, and triple check any numbers that people put in front of us. And what we have been able to, realize is that it's virtually impossible to know how many people were sold. Okay.
Right.
I think that people should, see the movie if they want to. Don't see the movie if you don't want to. You know what I'm saying? It's like all up to you. And for, these people to write up, reasons why this woman did this thing or didn't do it, until I can hear it out her mouth, I don't really listen. I literally filter the information that I take in because some of it is just so absurd, right? And
Right.
I just don't understand I mean, you can get real factual information by watching documentaries. I don't know if anyone knows, but Professor Henry Louis Gates, he did a 5-part series on the slave trade, African involvement in the slave trade. And so he have traveled around the continent and he found many other groups of people who actually participated as well, and found that there were a wide ranges of reasons why people, did participate in it. One of which is because of their perception of slavery. For one thing, oftentimes in many societies, that's not in all of them, but in many societies, if you are captured by another tribe, you get to leave. No one expected you to be their slave for the rest of your life. Some people who was captured and enslaved, by other tribes ended up staying past their time to be there because they may have married with someone in that tribe. So, it was nothing like slavery that you see here in America or that was experienced by Africans that was sold in America. And there are other research that shows what happened to these kingdoms when they decided to stop. And they decided to say, hey, we're not trading in people no more. Let's trade in this. The white people rejected those,
Yes,
offers. They didn't want to trade in something else. They wanted to trade in people because they knew what they were doing. They knew how they were getting free labor, which was
that's
going to
right.
set them up for the future. They're looking long into this. And so I just think it is really silly to be so naive to think that white people could have literally came to the continent of Africa with all these badass able to fight people and just take people without some type of assistance. But it's also naive to think that, everybody was in on it. That is just not right. Everybody wasn't in on it and things of that nature. And because that was, all of those years ago, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, I don't see why Black people would use that as an excuse to harbor animosity against their own people. To
Right.
me, that is absurd. And I just feel that if you can't take the good with the bad, then you will just need to bury your head in the sand.
Right. Molly, let's show another clip. We got Lupita, a clip of one with Lupita.
Yeah, the one with her actually doing the documentary is the low one. That'd have been great because she, actually was in the well, she made a documentary about being down in the history of that place. And she's saying all the things that y'all probably got questions about. And I don't think she had spent, about 100,000 on a documentary to go back and tell us lies. But she turned down the movie. She had the lead role. Like that should wake eyes up. That should bring some attention to some people. Like, why would you turn down all of this money in this role that can put you at high heights due to some history you heard? Because she know how them people really feel down there about her them making the movie in America, and it's just like we tend to ignore because we like, it don't matter, it don't really bother us. But I just follow the money. Like all the people making this money is white people, and even write this movie, you had to learn this history or this story. So they know the truth about what went down, and they don't care. It's all about bread with them. So I just like if you against it, just don't go watch the movie. I won't make clips down in it or talking bad about it or nothing like that. I just refuse to go watch it. But it's another girl. Every clip you sent me, Reese, is basically saying like, don't go watch the movie. You know that, right?
Yeah, but I'm glad that the clip is saying that because now it gives people a reason to open a book and read and do the research for
They
themselves.
they will never do that, and
I,
therein
oh,
lies the
God.
problem. Therein lies the problem. These guys are going around spreading all kind of propaganda, and not only that, but it just kills me because I on Twitter they were downing it, downing it, downing it. I never saw it. I'm really cheap. I don't go to the movies too much. I wait till the stuff come on TV in some way, shape, or form. However, I say the same people who are probably saying, don't go watch this movie, probably support teaching racism, teaching race in class. And in order to teach people and get people to a level of higher understanding, you need to teach it all. Okay, you need to teach it all. And people need to understand that you can't change history. It's over. It's done with. And if you're going to boycott the people who bought the people. And then not only bought the people, but treated the
Right.
people like subhumans. The
That's right.
same people who, down this small tribe of people. I mean, if I could share my screen, I could show you how small Dahomey
Yeah.
is.
I
I
mean,
got
it's
a
bigger in
picture.
America, probably bigger than what we sitting on right now.
Uh,
But it's small compared to what it's connected to.
I mean, it's only a piece out of Nigeria. Just like Althea said, they chopped off pieces of Nigeria. People decided, oh, I want to be this people. I'm going to be the Dahomians. I'm leaving the Oyo. The Oyo people who speak Yoruba, and I'm sure that the Dahomians speak Yoruba as well and
Mhm.
everything. But you get mad, you move over, you create, Benin. Then when you got Togo, then you got Ghana. And I've been to Ghana myself. And
Ivory
the people
Coast,
treated me very well. So yeah, you go and all of these were chopped up by the British. Why? I would hope that these
colonizers. Yes.
people would, the British and the French, you
Mhm.
know,
Hmm.
but
Colonizers.
that don't stop people from probably going out here and feeling sorry about the death of the queen. Regular old black people probably see sympathy in that. But when they was down there robbing, these people of their gold and their precious
Diamonds.
minerals, they take it up there and give it to the queen. Okay,
Yeah.
she stick it in one of her crowns and keep it moving. And so I just think that people should really, really, get some perspective, because if I'm ashamed of anything, I'm ashamed of some of these stupid ASS, people that get in movies and act a fool, act like a Sambo. People like, uh, I'm not gonna call out people names, but it's various comedians, especially if you look at history, they still uphold that step and fetch it type of persona just to be the highest paid comedian, acting like this black man who can never get his shit together. He
Mm.
can never have a good job. He can never, he's always got to have one foot, in the crime world and the other foot, nowhere for
Like
the most
this.
part, and no one seems embarrassed about that because everybody loves to chuck it up and chuck it up, and they don't understand that those type of images are what really make white people look on us badly, because they just can't take us serious, because we always want to be telling jokes. We don't want to confront history. I hear, and this is also something that pisses me off. I had run into some black people in a small town that, predominantly white town. I was teaching at this predominantly white school, and I like to say it was probably like six black people left in the town. They all got ran out by urban renewal in like the 50s. And they literally had came there right after slavery. They built up a little space for themselves, and they were, upward and mobile. Everybody was in many businesses. They had church, cemetery, buying all of their old homes and stuff. Then the white people decided, we are going to confiscate this land. So they used the urban renewal laws to push those black people out. And the black people who didn't go based on the law, they burnt their homes. They got rid of them. Okay,
Of
so I go
course.
down to this town. Here we are 50 years later, and the town got six black people left. Now, in this town, the black people would want to cozy up to white people like nobody's business. But a couple of Africans lived in the town as well. And these black people literally had a problem with the couple of Africans that lived there. It was mind boggling. And then at the same time, one of the people was like, I think we need to sit down and have a truth and reconciliation dialogue with the white people. And I'm just sitting there like, no, in my opinion, why don't we talk about truth and reconciliation between black people? There's a problem. It's a fundamental problem, when uh we have these internal struggles that don't benefit none of us. It's not benefiting the Africans on the continent, and it sure isn't benefiting us here. However, if we were not always having this internal struggle that's usually created by white people, just like those three white ladies you just showed there who made the movie, you know, uh, if we wasn't always, being puppies on their string, we would be so much further ahead as people.
Agreed. Agreed. Molly, let's go to another clip. Do we have? Let's try to play Lapita's again before you play this, young ladies, because I think I sent two of Lapita's. Martine's great grandmother Yaga was enslaved, but remained on African soil. On the beach at Bida is a memorial. It bears witness to the fate of thousands of prisoners that the warrior women captured by order of the kings to be sold to Europeans into the transatlantic slave trade. And it bears witness to the over 2 million women and men who, from the 17th to the 19th centuries, were loaded onto slave ships here, on what came to be called the slave coast of Africa. It was very emotional, very overwhelming to consider that side of the story, you know? We've heard a lot about the valor of the Gucci, how unstoppable they were, but until now, I hadn't really heard the other side of the story, you know? We came down from this historic, almost like glorious uh, remembrance to just the hard, brutal truth of
This is
what
what I'm saying.
the
The brutal
outcomes of
truth.
their actions. Martine's great grandmother Yaga was enslaved, but remained on African soil. Wow. Katina, you said the brutal truth. Molly, before we go in on that clip, what do our listeners or our viewers, what are they saying? Are they
Just a
commenting?
bunch of good mornings. Good mornings. Nope,
Let-
they probably learning. You know, this new to a lot of people. You know, because most of the people that I talk to, they ain't hear nothing about this, so they reading up on it. You know, so a lot of people they probably just listening, but they ain't here. Y'all ain't
Okay.
here. Give Reese some thumbs up or something.
I can't make it on this good conversation. Okay, Professor Thomas, you were saying that the brutal truth. I heard you say, see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Brutal truth.
this is, I mean, that's what she articulated. That is what really got to her just to be faced with such a brutal truth. You know what I'm saying? It's like in the back of our mind. The first time I used to ignore it. I used to try to ignore that Africans probably had to be a part of it. And it made me mad when I had to really confront the fact that African people did have a part in, selling off, other people from Africa. But I just didn't see that as a reason for me to, get mad at all the African people and get mad at Africa and want to disentangle myself from that community. And I think that watching something like that can really help people learn. And I love the fact that what Lapita was showing is that apparently the people of Dahomey felt some type of remorse for what went down because they actually decided not to forget and they decided to memorialize what had happened. And so that people don't forget this history. It's not, anybody's fault but ours that we don't know it and that we don't, seek out information and things like that. However, I thought that was very much that's something to use as an olive branch of sorts to see that hundreds of years ago in the 18th century, uh, some Africans were behaving in this way, but here we are in the 21st century where Africans are saying, you know what, we're sorry for selling our brothers and sisters. Now that we all understand the fullness of what happened to our people when they were sold there, then we feel like we can apologize. And now we want to, bridge this gap between us. And in many African countries, especially in West Africa, African Americans are welcome to come there and get citizenship. It's just interesting. So many people in this country, black people, will side with white people that say, hey, I didn't do it, it was my ancestors, what are you mad at me for? But they don't see that with their own people, that hey, that was the people that came before these people. And look at Africa, it is not like them having this relationship with white people early on ever benefited them. They're still fighting colonization on the continent of Africa today.
Mm, yes, and my African friends that come over via lottery, via green card, via what have you. I talked to many of them, and they stated to me that when they came over, they had to take a class, and in that class, they were taught to stay away from Black Americans. That we are toxic. They was taught by the same colonizers that snatched us up is telling them, hey, stay away from the Americans, the Black Americans, because they're dope pushers, pimps, and hoes, and thieves, and drug addicts, that we are just the unsavory element of America. And when I heard that, I said, are you kidding me? She said they teach us that. And not only did she say it, other people coming from Africa said that too. That they're telling the classes before they get on over here to America, they're telling them, they're warning them to stay away from the Black Americans. Katina, why do you think that is?
Well, it's true. It's true because I have several African friends as well who came here on
Mm-hmm.
student visas and things of that nature. And what happens at immigration, there's a meeting where they talk about, what you should do. And a lot of it has to do with, you don't want to get yourself mistaken, for African American people, because guess what? You can get shot. You could get, if no one hear your accent, the first thing they're going to do is treat you poorly. And this is what used to happen and made white people started to take notice and behave differently around in the 60s or so. Like I've read that during the time of real deep segregation in this country, black diplomats mistaken for Black Americans. And because of that, they would, complain to their state about the treatment that they were receiving. And so the the US State Department had to, reconcile these issues, and started to try to figure out ways to try to distinguish the African American from the continental African. And I think that they saw that that pretty much wasn't going to work, and that they decided to probably give those guys that little orientation to say, hey, guess what? We can't, they're not going to say, we can't tell you guys apart. But in effect, that's what they're saying. We can't tell you apart. Now, if you get beat down on the street because somebody mistake you for a Black American, then, that might be on you. And we don't really want to hear from your government. But I think what's interesting is that most of the Blacks I know, Africans I know, never listen to that. And I know many do, but many do not. And when I went to Ghana, we were attacked at the airport by Black people just wanting to carry out bags, who just wanted to take pictures with us. And I mean, they were actually asking us, did we have any Ebony? Do we have any Jet magazines? Do we have any Black magazines to just leave with them and stuff? Because they like to look at those pictures and see Black people in America. And so many people on the continent have this very, very high esteem for Black Americans. Oftentimes that doesn't really go away until they actually come here, and they oftentimes, encounter Black people who we've been taught as well to treat them poorly. When we were enslaved, the white people used to try to create dissension between Blacks and newly arrived Africans, because they know that how deep culture is. And if we were to gather together based on our culture and based on our circumstances, we would probably overtake them. So you have to remember that they're always trying to keep Black people from being a part of their, ancestral roots. And I think that has to do everything with them wanting to maintain their power over us and over them, and not have to worry about, us coming together and fighting against this. I mean, there is literal documentation where it states how the government, I think it may have been either under Lyndon Johnson or Nixon, where they talk about this at the highest level. How do we make sure that the Black revolutionary movement in America and the Black revolutionary movement in Africa always stay disjointed? That's why they deported Marcus Garvey, got him the hell out of here, because he was bringing African people together throughout the diaspora, not just Africa and America, but the Caribbeans as well.
The Black diaspora, yes, yes. Molly, can we go to the next video? But we don't have to do a commercial. We can come straight back to get comments and everything. Let's see.
Overwhelming excitement for this movie, The Woman King, starring Viola Davis. There are some serious and legitimate concerns. This movie is inspired by true events. It's about the Amazons, an army of all-female warriors who fought for their African kingdom of Dahomey. Here's the problem. The Dahomey kingdom played an active role in the slave trade. They would capture Africans and then sell them to Europeans. Before we rush to blame African slavers for the transatlantic slave trade, it's important for us to understand context. Otherwise, we run the risk of distorting history. Slavery had been around for thousands of years, well before the establishment of the Dahomey kingdom. Forced labor was common, but Europeans heading to the New World redefined slavery. They made it based on race. Before the slave trade, slavery was the result of war, conquest, or sentencing for criminals. Enslaved people had a more fluid status. They were able to marry, own land, and their children were not automatically enslaved.
Thank you.
Historians call this indentured servitude because there was a term of labor to be paid, and then after that, freedom was granted. The transatlantic slave trade changed everything. Europeans introduced a new form of slavery that wasn't known to the world. It was commercialized and racialized. Enslaved Africans were being recruited because of their skin color. Black people were seen as more hardy and prepared for the brutal life on the plantation. They weren't seen as humans, they were seen as commodities that should be
Battle.
purchased and sold and exploited.
Yes.
The African slavers, they weren't aware of this distinct new form of race-based chattel slavery that was being developed in the New World. Not only were they unaware of this new form of slavery, but their survival depended on engaging in the slave trade. African kingdoms that refused to trade with the Europeans went into decline. West and Central Africa had diverse ethnic, political, social groups that oftentimes were at war with each other. Europeans used this to their advantage. They sold weapons in exchange for slaves, and the more weapons you had, the more likely you were to win a war. The Europeans actually increased the demand for weapons by forming military alliances and instigating fights between different groups. Europeans also shifted the location of trade along the West and Central African coast in order to follow where the African conflict was. The Dahomey Kingdom became a warrior society because in many ways, their survival depended on it.
That's it. She said it all right there. That is scholarship versus that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Versus that guy who went up there and put that little sign up from a Pan African website. You know, anybody with a computer can make a website. It is what the internet was made for, so everybody can get a piece and put your thoughts out there. But everybody's thoughts are not meant for widespread consumption. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have to be super critical. And whenever I teach, I try to, give students a chance to go to YouTube, and I try to, provide them with credible links versus, and make them look at that versus the stuff that they're looking at through, all of these other means of information, and showing them to, the difference between people who might be better considered an authority and people who just talking stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that's so important because otherwise, like she is saying, you're just so misinformed. You're so much misinformed, and you're missing so many pieces of this dynamic. And the fact that, not only was the Dahomean people fighting other tribes, but tribes are fighting them. They had to create a warrior base in order to protect them from other groups. The white people was all over the place once those Portuguese started that stuff in the
Yes, they were.
1500s, you know.
And you got to remember, this is the most important part that I want to run home for people to think about this. Why were they trading slaves in the first place?
Africans. That's the only thing I would take is she should have said African because nobody was born a slave. They took
Right.
these
Well,
people
okay,
and
I'm
created
sorry.
a
Why
slave.
were they taking the Africans anyway? Because they used cowrie shells as form of currency. White people did not want cowrie shells. They wanted bodies because they know bodies would generate money for them. So that's why the people was even trading each other, period, because they would trade 40 Africans for an umbrella. They said that they was bamboozled, hoodwink, ran amok, running straight because they didn't know better. They was trading slaves for gunpowder.
They
Was
was
trading
trading
slaves for weapons.
Africans for the
I
things
mean,
that
I'm
was
sorry.
useful for
It's
them.
Africa, enslaved Africa.
For things that
Africa.
was useful for them. Because remember, money hadn't been created yet. That's why cowrie shells had a meaning in
It,
their
it, it did. That
society,
was
a
their form of
value.
a trade
So they was
in
it just
Africa.
seemed uneven to
But
us because that seemed crazy. What the hell are you trading people for shells? However, you know what I'm saying? That was something that had a value. So it was
no,
like
but they was trading umbrellas in the movie. They
well, they
showed.
was mainly I don't know about that movie. And
I mean,
Umbrella,
well,
that
not to take the movie out, but I did some research and digging. This is what prompts
Trust, it
people to
wasn't just like
read.
one umbrella. It would have been
Umbrella
umbrella. It would have
was
been
worth
some
40
gin. It would
Africans.
have been, a lot of different
Umbrella was
stuff.
worth 40 Africans, and gin was worth, I don't know, a little small cannon, because I read and did research, other documentaries, was
Okay.
200
Hmm.
to 300 for a cannon.
Mm.
And I mean, Africans, they was trading
Yeah.
this with the Europeans. The
Yeah.
Europeans knew what they was getting. They
Absolutely.
knew, but the Africans did not. They didn't
Well,
know, you
they didn't
know.
go ahead. Yes, they didn't know what they was going to do with them, but trust me, the Africans walked away. The king anyway. He walked away feeling like, oh, I got what I wanted. I got my gin. I got my
I got all these
umbrella.
new things. I got an
you
upgrade.
know, because see,
An
they don't
umbrella.
need all this stuff. They
They
walking
didn't
past
need
brick
an
and gold
umbrella.
on the road.
Use the leaves that God provided you with umbrellas, and shade, use the leaves that you've been using. But here come European culture, technology.
Yeah,
They fooled them, they tricked them. Oh,
fancy.
they told Shaka Zulu by dyeing his hair, he could trick aging. He gonna stay young forever. He thought because he dyed his hair, turned back the years literally. But I mean, they, smoking mirrors and stuff. Snake oil, man. That's how snake oil charmers and all. That's how the Europeans always did. If they could not take you by hook or crook, then they went to force.
Listen
Then
to
when
what
the
that lady
Africans
just
say we
said.
ain't playing no more, then they start stealing them on their own.
But listen to what she said. She said that these guys sat around, they studied people, they looked at what people weaknesses were, and they looked at your superstitions and tried to use these things
Yes,
against you, or and your beliefs. I wouldn't call people's beliefs superstitions necessarily. However, as time go on, even people in those cultures have said, hey, wasn't no validity to that. That's something that we've been believing but has never turned out to be true. So we dispense with that. We
right,
don't believe these things anymore. But
right.
it was total manipulation that really prohibited the Africans to actually stop what they was doing in their tracks and then repel the whites.
Mm-hmm.
That's the unfortunate thing, is that they wasn't those guys were so slick, so cunning, and so devious and diabolical that they actually pulled whatever trick you could. And once the Africans began to put their foot down, they stole the kings. They stole the queens. They
They,
stole their children. They took anybody. Everybody can get it because that's how the whites operate.
brutal. They come in, they divide, they conquer. They will look at Columbus, and they celebrate Columbus. They're talking about glorifying the homie. What are you doing with Columbus? You even give him a day. Boycott that. Boycott stuff like that.
Big
But they
lies.
they over here. Oh, we're boycotting the movie because
Child.
it glorifies this and that, this and that. All it talks about is a fierce regime of women who, under their king's direction, under their Obi's direction, did what the palace required them to do. No different than our American soldiers doing what their government told them to do.
Exactly. Dropping
And
bombs on people.
thank
You know.
you. And are they
So
remorseful? Yes. A lot of my friends have PTSD from being over there in Afghanistan.
mhm.
Seeing children and women getting killed. They have remorse too. Just
Exactly.
like the homie people and the tribe. You
Exactly.
do what your government said. We are basically enslaved to our government.
Well,
Wherever
and see,
you live,
that is the crazy. And now, well, the history of Africa, in many places in Africa, and they don't got enough time to tell you this in movie, but you could do a whole movie on societies that literally killed the king, because they didn't play that crap. And it was
yeah,
like, if you're not fulfilling the will of the people, then the king goes, and the king's reign mate, his
yeah.
wife, him, they
The
get rid of
children, they
people.
they said and not to get off track. Like for example, Idi Amin Dada, how
Hmm.
he became into power, it was
Hmm.
because of the colonizer. He was a brutal
Absolutely.
man, but put in power by the colonizer.
to
He
to look, remember, to continue. Look how, when did Idi Amin ruled? Way later, in the
yeah, in
1900s. And
69,
just imagine, these people been
in
pillaging
19,
Africa since 15
he was like
something.
69 to 79, something like that. He
See, that's
was
the
he
1900s.
died in, gosh, and he was one of the other countries was giving him refuge. How he escaped out of there, and that was through Belgium rule. Colonizer came in. He started out as a daggone cook. He wasn't even a general. They said, "Oh, we like how
This
he
is what they do. This
organized."
is how they keep Africa destabilized, and I think that having these outward discussions, just show how we're really not ready
Mm,
to be anything but oppressed by white people.
mm. That is the sad. That is so sad. That makes my heart cry.
It's where we are. To me, that's a frightening truth that we should deal with immediately.
Mm.
Immediately.
Molly, I'm sorry. Did, did the viewers say anything, Molly? Katina, we was
Nah. They just saying, hey, Nene in here, uh,
you don't want to
Glory.
do roll call.
They got a few. Hunt came through. The G Factor,
I know that's right.
Lauren, and this on Facebook. I don't see who on YouTube. There's some people on YouTube too.
Oh
Oh,
wow. Girl, you blowing up.
Katina, I thank you for coming on and sharing in the
Oh,
conversation
thanks for
that
calling.
we be having because you make it more powerful, more you can give them to me. I have so much in my mind that I want to get out, but sometimes I don't know how to express it or get it
Mm-hmm.
out. And I thankful to my guests that helped me get what I'm saying out. And especially your expert tutelage, uh true scholar and professor, that's how we do. We like to look stuff up, check the facts, do our see, we'll read, and I'm hoping that and do research, and I'm hoping that this will get other people to talk, to read, and do the research. What book is that you holding up?
This is called Wives of the Leper. I had to take a class on African women in history. And
Uh-huh.
so this is about the Dahomey Kingdom. And I had to read this book and write a review on it. And while I can still question some of the things that the lady puts here, it's full of references that I can go back and check things. And she gives just something the movie can't do, but she gives a fuller account of the women's roles and how people actually came to become a part of the whole palace, which was something that was large. It was a huge, like a corporate structure. And the people who lived around Dahomey all wanted their kids to be a part of the palace. So oftentimes people would pull all kind of stunts to get their children married into the palace or brought into the palace in some kind of way, because it actually bestowed honor amongst that family
For the
who had a
family, right?
person that's inside the palace. So it's a lot to learn and unpack about history. And on almost every topic, there's just so many nuances that if you don't know them, it can leave you just with a one-sided view.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So I'm telling people, the Woman King, it had Viola Davis did her part. I loved it as a movie. I gave it a 10. Look, all
Okay.
12 people in the movie
Hmm.
theater, it was like 12 in there, was clapping. Just like
I'll tell you, I'm
it
going to
reminded
see
me
it.
of 12 Years a Slave, because at the end, everybody was clapping. You know, the
Yes,
movie, it wasn't crowded,
yes.
but it's a good point of resource. It made you go, huh?
Hmm.
It made you think, because I was telling Misha about it, and she was like, "Well, let's see it." And then when she do research on her own, she was like, "Wow, this movie, even though it may be some of it be fact based, it's for entertainment. It's still a fictional movie. It's a
Yeah.
drama. It's a what do you call? Because it got a lot of action in it. It's an
Yeah.
action adventure movie, just like
Yeah.
Indiana Jones. Just like when I think of the
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
films like
I
that,
agree.
you use it
Hmm.
for entertainment. Don't use it as a Bible or a force of belief or swear by
Exactly.
it.
Yes.
A lot of people take what they see in Hollywood
Yeah.
and run with that like, oh, that's the truth. Oh, that's the fact. No, it's not. It's been embellished. It's been plot twisted. It's been fixed so it can entertain you.
You know,
Right.
Andrew Jackson, is he the one that's on the $100 bill? I don't be having those too much, but that was one of the biggest racists in this country. I dare somebody tear up their bill with with the Jackson on it. He provided the Native Americans with smallpox blankets, and
So,
he was
look,
a
that was the
rabid
battle of
racist.
Wounded Knee. That's what they called it,
So
the
it's
battle
like
of.
tear up your bills with the Andrew Jackson on it. Let's
They ain't gonna
boycott
do
that.
that. Boycott that. That's what I'm saying. They'll find that they're taking their mind off the wrong, putting their mind on the wrong thing, and not focusing on the bigger picture. And even with the Black diaspora, how can we bridge the gap in the near coming future? I want to do a show where I have a couple of African guests and I'll have a couple of American guests and we want to talk about the differences. Will you be one of my American quote African people on the panel that we're going to ask each other questions and why this and why that? Digging in the background of their culture a little bit.
Oh yeah, why not?
I think that'll be. I think this is a conversation that we need to have to help bridge that gap. I ain't trying to be no Marcus Garvey. Where they going to deport me to? they going.
Well, at least you're a citizen, so you don't have to worry about that.
No, I got to worry about them killing me. That's what my son said. Mom, if you get up there and talk too much about what they don't like or tell the truth, they're going to find a way to take you down. I'm
Oh,
already down, baby.
yeah. It's so many people not listening. They don't really think that, it's like, whatever. Look, we got about 6 people listening to this conversation. I'm sure they not frightened about that.
Actually, I think we got a little more than that. I see the people come, they're looking, we're trying to shed, we're trying to enlighten them, we're trying to elevate them mentally and spiritually. But it's hard, especially when you got social media working against you, and it's just whoo, like like there's a TikTok that's gone viral, and this is white blonde girl saying period, period, y'all, period. Have you seen it? I know you
Mm-mm.
haven't seen it.
I don't have TikTok.
Utterly, it's utterly ridiculous. It went viral. I don't know if she's trying to rap,
Yeah.
but it amazes me how the little simple stuff go viral. I think about the amoeba, that little simple cell organism.
Hmm.
That amoeba. I'm like, how did this stuff go viral? This little simple stuff that shouldn't be going anywhere. We should concentrate more about Biden saying that the pandemic is over. We should be concentrating more about they lying because over 3,000 people are still dying daily. And that you still got to be cautious and stay away from people. Wear your mask. Keep your immune system up. Eat healthy. Get you some good sea moss. Sea moss got 102 minerals in it
Mm.
and
Mm.
92 of them that the body needs.
Wow.
I mean, stuff like that. And Molly happens to sell sea moss. And right now we got a special going. You
I
get
know
your
that's
sea
right.
moss and your book, Shades of Blue. We got
I
a
know that's right.
$20 bundle package on them. Ain't that right, Molly?
You say a $20 package for two?
You get sea moss and Shades of Blue.
Sea moss and shades of blue.
And the book. The soft copy is Shades of Blue, and you get your good sea moss. And it has a lot of medicinal purposes in sea moss. You know,
And how do you consume it? You drink it? Is it come in a powder form?
Molly,
Mhm.
he's the
Yeah,
specialist.
Some of them do, but I
Mm.
sell the sea moss gel. I actually clean it myself and prepare it for people, and you can put it in your smoothie. That's what I like to do. You can
Oh,
put it
okay.
in your tea. I know some people that put it in their coffee, like Rico and them. They in the comments. So Ron in here too. He got his sea moss. So people got different ways, but some people can just take a spoon and just eat it. I
Oh,
can't do
okay.
that. I
I
can't do
can get
that at
into the
all. So
texture.
yeah, it's nasty, the texture and all that, but it's definitely give you energy. It strengthens your immune system, so you can fight off a lot of these
Yes.
illness and
And
colds coming your way.
the benefits that it has, it's amazing. That's why I say I gotta get it because it's good as we get up in age. Unfortunately, Arthur want to come to visit, so it's good for arthritis and
Oh, wow.
inflammation. It's good for asthma.
Yep.
And because I have a lung condition, so I'm like, well, I gotta definitely get some because I'm tired of taking three inhalers. I'm tired of taking these pills, these bronchodilators that
Mhm.
causes other effects. Yeah, they
Mm.
get you on one thing, or take this
Mhm.
for your bronchodilator, open up your lungs, but then it causes bleed in the back of your
Oh,
eyes.
Jesus.
I mean, or hypertension or other stuff. CMOS is natural. It ain't gonna cause me nothing but good health, you know. So
Mhm.
and they use it for cancer as well. Like I said, it's 102 minerals and 92 the body needs.
Yeah.
Mm.
Some
It's
people use it for a face mask. It cleans the skin. So some people just get it just for their face,
hair and skin.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow, that is
wash
interesting.
their
Those
hair with it.
I challenge people to do their research on tell you that in the doctor's office. There's so many natural ways that we can use to help cure whatever ails us, that we don't have to run to the medicine, to the Western modernization of that medicine, that snake oil charmer. They don't
mhm.
tell you that because there's no money in a cure. Just like they made everybody get these shots. Everybody had to get the shots. Now they're telling people you don't need the shot. Now they're telling people you can come back to work. Now they're telling they're changing everything up. And I just don't like that because it's propaganda. When we
Girl,
have
it
the
just
media to
don't
be
be it's
changing
no
our
fear because you never needed it in the first place. That's the rub there is that you didn't need the face mask in the first place, and therein lies, you know, why they some big fat liars.
they always been and like I did a show back in 2020 when Biden first got in the office. It was in February, and it was even on the news. I don't know if y'all remember when that little 11-year-old girl asked Biden, "Do I have anything to worry about for COVID?" He said up there, "No, the children are safe. The children not getting COVID." That was a lie because when he said that, over a million children contracted it and passed. Then when he said that big fat lie, over a million children had it, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, that research is off, you know. And then I lost respect for him then in 2020. So that was what right after he got in. Immediately he started. That's why they call him Sleepy Joe. And I don't know what Kamala is. Kamala somewhere on the border telling people that the border is closed, but people still walking through. And then you have DeSantis, the mayor of Florida, flying people out to Martha's Vineyard, but they want to sit up and protest a movie. They want to get all of this stuff is going on right now, today, but they want to tell you to go protest a movie, but they're not telling you to go protest all
Well,
this other
nobody
stuff
is
that's
going to
going
tell you to
on.
come and protest them. It's just idiot black people who like to go out here and jump on something to get some attention. Oh, boycott, boycott. And it's just, I think we got to stop, blaming everybody else for our own ignorance.
That's right.
I'm like, nobody told black people to go out there and say, start this whole, and I don't know if a black person started. I just know when I went on Twitter, it was majority black people who was, trying to force people into this mindset. And I just said, wow, this is
That's
interesting
because they're
because
following
the
white.
world is going to hell in a handbasket and they're worrying about a movie that the people even tell you is based on historical facts, but it's they don't say that it's actual facts. They don't say this is the history as it unfolded in this place. No, they say it's based on some historical facts. So I don't know how much clearer people can be. And it's just unfortunate that these people decide to boycott movies as opposed to, really pushing back on their government, who is, like you're saying, you are, going out here spending millions of dollars to transport people to another part of the country, in which somebody's got to spend more money to transport them
That,
somewhere
that
else.
was a $12
It's just
million
crazy.
ticket just for that food part. It was a $12 million ticket. I
Yeah.
have family that live in Florida. So my cousin was telling me my damn house taxes need to be paid. DeSantos is taking that money, her taxpayer dollars, and putting it in this stuff just to stay to the Democrats. Now, boom, put them there, put them there, put them there. You're sending them by bus, boat, plane, train, any way you can, and it's taxpayers' money. Don't we have enough problem with the taxpayer money? We can't even get the benefits that we need for us, but
Right.
you're spending millions with a capital M
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
some bull, for some
Right.
BS, just to
Right.
say nah. I'm gonna send them your way now. What you gonna do now? Or I'm gonna do this just to start up. It's stupid to me, but
Well,
yet
and the
still we can
Democrats,
take our time and
yeah.
boycott a daggone mm, child. Woo!
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's just a total game that they're playing with our real lives. That's the sad reality, is that while they're sitting there hound the hog, and they are, living well and don't have to worry about how much the
Yeah.
gas costs and things of that nature. And when and if, there is some kind of a major war, they got bunkers. They got places to hide. We'll be here, probably
Getting
still saying,
obliviated. We'll
"Oh,
be here.
this is what they had planned for us." It's like, if you know people
Mhm.
got shit planned for you, then why keep playing in their hands? This is
Mm.
insane.
What you say, Molly?
Oh
Molly
man.
said that we supposed to have been off of here 2 minutes ago.
Hey, I just like man. I respect everybody's decision. It just like when I knew people was going when Lupita came out with and said what she said, I knew people was gonna ban the movie. It ain't
Mhm.
like people really knew about this until she came out and turned down the movie, and people backing her. Like people was really backing her, like not watching the movie based on what she told them. And people
Hmm.
started to find out the truth. But they hear people that say like, or where white people did this, or like Reese, you said, while government send people to war all the time, we always find another reason why it's okay for people to do dumb shit. That don't make it okay. Like they'll never make a Hitler movie and then downplay how he did the Jewish people, or period. Like they put an end to it. Then it's white people back in this movie. They ain't like black people doing anything behind it. They not making money from it. The people they talking about not making money from it. Mostly white people making money off our pain, our history. And yeah, they did some mess up things, but it's not they don't have the okay to tell our story. Like we should be able to tell our story how we want to tell our story. We allow white people to do all the time. And then when people say, I'm not going to see the movie, we down them. Oh, why you ain't going to see it? Because this, but they did this and they did this. It don't matter. This is something they're going against. But soon Will Smith smacked Chris Rock. Everybody banned it. Oh, I'm not going against. Oh, I've never seen a Will Smith movie. He banned from this. He banned from that. So when somebody say something about gays, oh, he banned from this. He banned from that. Nick Cannon come and speak the truth about us on his own network. He banned from this. He banned from that. And y'all back them. People back them. Our own people. Yeah, he shouldn't have said that. But when people come out and ban a movie, they shouldn't. Like, nah. They should get the same right to do the same thing that these gays get to do. When you say something against the LGBTQ community, IA, they get to get things banned. They get to get Dave Chappelle silent if they wanted to. So why we can't do it when people want to silent a movie that we don't benefit of? They just making money off our history, and it ain't in the true history. And they didn't get the okay to do it. So it's like until they start making movies about Hitler and start making it seem like he was just a hero and things with sugarcoat, he wasn't really as bad as a person he really wasn't. It was some great things he did. They can sugarcoat all the stuff that he did bad and just talk about the good he did, and people still hate that movie. People are banned. You'll see the Jewish people saying, "Don't go see the movie," and I respect that. I will understand that. But when we do, we always find and we say, well, it was other movies like that, and we ain't know no better to go ban it. But now we got more information. We in the age of information. We should ban a lot of these things, and I'm okay with it. But if you're gonna ban it, at least go watch the movie eventually when it come out. Don't pay for it. Watch it free like you do everything else, and then educate people on what they left out the movie. I ain't saying don't go watch the movie. I'm saying if you got something against it, go watch it. Then let the people know what they left out, what they
That's
should have
right.
said. Don't just say don't go watch it. You don't know what they left out the movie. They might
Do
really be telling all
research.
the truth.
Look, the
So
people that's banning don't even know how to spell the homie. People that's banning ain't never heard of it. Don't even know that it's now the Republic of Benin. So people that's banning it, like you're right, inform yourself, educate yourself, show yourself approved, and
yeah, I
and
respect
and,
their
and you
decisions
know,
though.
and they're not doing that. But this has concluded our time. Our very esteemed guest, Katina Thomas, Professor Dr. Katina Thomas. Thank you so much. Is she
Oh, you're
gone?
welcome. No, I'm right here.
Oh, okay.
Always the case.
Look, I'm sorry. I can't
Put
see
her
when I
on the
look at
big
the
screen.
screen. I do apologize. People probably did like Reese blind as a bat. Right now, it's called low vision, people. It's
Okay.
called low vision. And that is the thing. Y'all need to Google and look that up. So
Mhm.
I'm not blind. I have low vision. Okay? So y'all stop teasing me about that. But but
Bernice Smith said, "Love y'all." I don't know why I thought that was wrong. Bernice, they must be blocking you on Facebook from speaking a lot of truth on there.
they
'Cause
blocking me.
That's
they not
terrible.
showing her name on here, but on the Facebook on my phone I can see who it
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm blocked for a couple of hours. I don't even know what I did.
is.
I really don't even know what I did. Slicky did it yesterday when he was talking that mess. Slicky got us blocked. You know what he was saying.
I mean, he didn't even say anything out of order.
Slicky always threatening another class of people saying that we need to get rid of them. I'm not gonna say the words because that might
Hmm.
be words. He was just saying that we need to get rid of a certain race of
Group of
people
people.
all the time. He yells that, and I think that's what get us blocked every time.
Oh,
He
okay.
say he say little stuff like that.
They might
So
be
he must
sensitive
be
like
on
that.
Facebook. I mean, not Facebook. It must
Well,
be
why
on
they don't block him instead of
YouTube.
you?
They
They
definitely block
do.
him.
He stay in
Got
Facebook jail. That's
Oh,
why
30
okay.
days.
Slippy is a convict when it comes to
Oh, he
Facebook
he
jail.
likes Facebook jail.
Bernice said we
Hmm
don't have to say anything wrong these days. They gonna block you anyway.
Like
Well,
Ron stay in Facebook jail. And now, since I've been hanging with them or they see me socializing with them, they block me all of a sudden. I didn't have
wow.
my account for 20 something years. How long have I had my account? Over 10 years now. All of a sudden, I'm being blocked.
Mm.
That's
Look, I don't engage it enough, but who knows? I might get blocked too messing with you.
look, they might give you the Facebook code that she blocked, so
Okay.
you know that you be
I'm
like, I ain't
guilty
even
by
on there.
association.
Guilty by association. Exactly. That's Molly and Slicky got me blocked like that, and people like Monty and Michelle, they don't and Ron, they don't know what to say out their mouth container. They
Well,
too liberal when it comes to their tongue.
we should be able to say what we want to when we want to. Long as you don't scream fire in the crowded room.
But thank goodness for YouTube, where they let me be me. They let me be great on YouTube. So
Oh, for now. Trust and believe. If you say certain things, I know lots of people have talked about, especially since this Ukraine Russia thing, they've
oh
gotten kicked
wow.
off of YouTube, and they've had their videos actually
Wow.
taken down. Taken down.
Because we talk about them sending $1 trillion over to help the aid to other countries that they wouldn't do for certain countries, just like they're letting people over, but certain other people they stop in the water. They see you coming on the boat, stop, send them back immediately. Immediately they go back. You know,
Yeah.
so they
We'll talk about money. These people spending money that they don't have. As countries in Lebanon, people had to have literally have to go into banks and rob them for their own money.
to get their
This
own
is
money.
where the economy is headed, and but we're gonna sit here and fight over a movie, which just shows how elementary our thinking is, and that we need to really step it up.
Yeah, it's too much
Yes.
going on out here. But I don't think nobody literally fighting over the movie though. Like nobody they throwing hands or debating or marching or anything. They just post and don't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
know,
understand, but they're also
it's
giving these
with the
long
board.
diatribes about this and that, and it's showing this dissension, not only dissension
Yeah,
internally with blacks in America, but blacks in Africa. And I noticed on Twitter, because that's the one thing I use the most, is that almost every time I go up there, to be like black women, black Americans, all this stuff
yeah,
trending with all of us sounding like we're fighting. And if you remember what the sister said in the video about how the white people got the tribes to fight against each other and to sell each other to
and
people.
they
It's
doing it
because
now. They create a
exactly.
movie and they got one side saying go watch the movie. They fighting against the side saying don't go watch the movie. But at the end of the day, the white people own all of this. The media, you go online, you talk about it, we getting them paid regardless. So they just stirring the pot up, and you gonna have some people go see it, some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Some people care about the border, some people don't. But it depends on the
Some
people.
people care about women, some
It's,
people don't, because they
yeah,
got
yeah,
the women fighting against the men, women rights, and then the
gay
men saying
rights.
they don't need the rights. Everybody's always some type of right. When
Yeah,
everybody stand to my left, because ain't none of y'all right.
And see, what
it's
they
all
do
the
is
rhythm.
sit back and look at how do we push buttons. See, that's
Yeah.
what we got to understand. While we're arguing, they're reading every single comment and
Yeah,
they dissecting it. They're analyzing these things to be able to always push your buttons so they'll know what rise to get, when to get it.
yeah,
While we are sitting here, like I said, we just feed into it. We gotta have our voices heard. We gotta have people hear what we have to say all the time, even when we ain't talking about nothing.
yeah,
However, they're observing every word you say and they're seeing how to keep you confused, just as if how the Democrats and the Republicans literally keep us all as citizens confused and arguing over the small things while they, rob the coffers of
yeah,
the country.
Yes.
That's just the sad place that we are in, just as a society of people, a global society. And that's
yeah.
that's terrible.
I think they use movies though to program all of the thing you talking about. Like people got this perception of black people based off movies, like Boys in the Hood and stuff. So these white people just assume that's how we are based off movies. They never even hung out with us most they just like this how black people act. They savages. Where did they get that from? Movies, basically
Mm-hmm.
movies and the internet. Because the internet only going it depend on the algorithm. Like I'm into films, so every time I go on the internet, they trying to sell me a camera or they showing me how the making of this movie make it. But if you're not into that, that's not gonna be trending on yours. It's gonna be whatever you
Hmm.
into. So black women, yeah, they gonna have y'all saying all this black women arguing with other black women or black men not treating. And when we watch it, all they showing us is how women ain't this and how women twerking and twerking. That's all black men see on their page. Twerk, 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 because
But
they know the algorithm. They trying to feed us into this and have us to believe in this thing and this perception of this how black women are. Or they just freaks, they just hold. No, they not. So when we go out here and we start preaching the truth, all of this just to keep us distracted anyway from what's really going on. The movies and everything just keeping us distracted. They dropped this movie at the right time when people start arguing about the border and how people walking across. Now people not even talking about it as much no more. They just talking
mm,
about this movie.
don't forget in the ending of a pandemic. Don't forget that
Oh yeah,
part.
Joe Biden said it's over.
Don't forget that these people are approaching World War III with their tactics. I think that's the biggest thing that these people are trying to hide is that, they are moving this country and this whole world, closer to a senseless war. That
Mm-hmm.
to me is the biggest problem because if there's a World War III, if there is nuclear weapons used, none of us will be here to say anything about anything.
But it won't be nuclear. It'll be germ. It'll be germs and diseases. Instead of them
You
dropping a
hope it ain't
bomb
gonna
on
be a
you.
nuclear,
They
but this
gonna
thing
drop
is,
something else on you.
if
They
you feel,
weaponizing these bugs, these germs and stuff.
I
Mm.
mean, the people may
Germ
not do that
warfare.
because how you control? You can't control bugs. You can't control the nuclear thing. The reality is, if any of these things are unleashed, none of us can do anything. And as long as we let these people keep manipulating us to look to the border, to wear a mask instead of getting
Take the
your
jab.
insides,
Don't forget to take the
you know,
jab.
we'll always. I remember this country always would have a contingency of people who would always go out and be against war. But I noticed that this time, no one is going out talking against this war. And anyone who do, they been got cut off Facebook. They been got cut off Twitter. And just the fact that they have now forced Facebook into monitoring everybody. That boy, I believe, literally started this thing so it could be social, so he can make money. Because when you find out how much money is to be made in advertisement, that is where you get rich. And now the government has forced him through fines, taking him to, bringing him in front of and dressing him down in front of Congress, force him to monitor every single account and every word that comes out of our mouths. That's why I try to stay off of them. And that's why, I try to definitely keep my mouth closed on
Stay
them.
off the grid. Molly, my algorithm must be broke because you said they show you things that you're interested in. I don't see no buff black men on my algorithm. They
You
need
have
to
to
show me.
look for it first. That's how
That's
the
what you
algorithm
search.
picks up what you like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we
let me
talk
see
about it a
the
lot.
sexy black men. That's what I want. I want to
Girl,
see that on my
Google it.
timeline.
Google and Google sexy black men. Girl, you will have sexy black men coming up on your feed all day long. I'm not lying. That's how it is. Because I Google, stand mixers. Now everybody and their mama want to sell me a stand mixer.
Yeah,
Everywhere I look, stand mixer just pops up on the screen all over. That's
Oh,
that's how this thing keeps tabs on us all day, every day. And it's like 1984. I don't know if anybody read that
yeah.
book, but that's a wonderful book. It's very scary. But yeah, so I thank you for bringing me on and letting me run my mouth.
thank you, Katina. Thank you. And Slicky Woo Boo.
Yeah, we
And
gotta
the
get
group is,
Katina to guest on one of our shows, man. She can go.
yeah,
Boy, I got the
definitely.
gift of gab. I have my degree in journalism. My bachelor's is in journalism.
So that's what she do.
I can run my mouth, boy. I tell you.
I don't know, but y'all are on the show. I turned on the
So
show,
Molly,
so
you
y'all
just
could be
let me
on the
know what
show.
you want me to talk. When you having something you want me to come on.
I'm on every day at 1 o'clock. So whenever you free, I'm on tomorrow. I'm about to go on at 1 today. I go back on at 9:30 tonight. Friday at 1. I'm on Monday through
So
Friday.
you said you come on at one, because yesterday I must have been after one that I logged on and I saw you, but I must have been seeing the tape.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, the playback.
I'm gonna go.
Y'all
I'll
are
check it
so
out.
So
disrespectful.
whenever
I'm
you
doing
free
a
at
good
1,
show.
let me know. If you free tomorrow, you come on.
What y'all talking about? Are we in backstage or we're still
No, we still
No, we on
live.
the show live and they cutting up.
Who
So I
that
don't
on the
know
group?
what.
Lucky
Molly,
terrible?
we're gonna get Ernest, we're gonna get Nene, we're gonna get Rico.
Oh yeah, I can put them all up.
Now here, pull them all up because they Nene singing, Rico rapping.
That
They
is
in the hot
funny.
tub somewhere,
They're in
and
the hot
Oh
tub somewhere.
man,
Yeah,
they
put
lit.
that up there.
What?
and
Oh
we talking
man,
about the homie
Put them
and
on there.
Rob,
I got to
all
see
of
what
them.
they doing.
They wanted to say good morning. Why y'all not watching the show?
They in the hot
Oh,
tub, they
man.
say. It's like,
Yesterday with that volleyball.
I put y'all on blast. All right, Katina, we're gonna close
yes,
out the
girl.
show. I'm
All
gonna get
right
back to
then.
y'all.
All right. We'll see you
Katina,
later. Uh-huh.
I want to say thank you again, baby.
You
Uh,
welcome.
uh, you're a wonderful
What's up,
guest,
hey,
and
good side, we who's
you need
You're
to
hey,
hurry
welcome.
up.
You
No,
see them
you
in
ain't
the
really
hot
used,
tub?
bro.
Yeah, this is set up.
This how we do
These are the
This
people.
how we do
They having too much fun.
Right here at the turkey ticket. Yo, come through, chill and kick it. Right
Do
here.
they realize they want to show mom?
You gonna check how dirty wings rip it. Right here, so good, wanna sip it. Dope lines make you wanna snip it. Don't you know shit just terrific? Yo, this all time for the dome. Miss Sutton, Mr. Jerome. Know how we represent the home. Yo, do it cause I'm bad to the bone. Yo, this ain't something that you used to. This is grown folks, we sister woo, sir. This is grown folks, we sister woo, sir. This is something that I know you ain't used to. Come through and kick it. Right here, took the ticket. That's Dave Marley, the truth, Ron, Wig. We out of this joint. Just trying to putting old bones and some good heat and shit. Yeah.